Hi, I'm Jason. Welcome to my shop where I just finished making a top for my new Outfeed table for the Tablesaw. The Outfeed table is to catch long pieces as I run them through the Tablesaw so they won't fall to the floor when they reach the end of the Tablesaw. So the top is made of MDF, and what I need to do is route slots that are a little wider than the slots for the miter gauge on the Tablesaw. In this case, I've got them 1.5 inches wide. To make these 1.5 inches wide, I made a jig for my plunge router. The jig has exactly the width I need plus 1/8 inch. And the reason I add that 1/8 inch is because on my router, I've got a template guide installed. So the side of the router bit, the distance from that side to the side outside of the template guide is 1/8 inch. And when the guide runs along the inside of the jig, it'll give me exactly the width I need when I'm all finished. So here's the jig, nothing fancy, just some scrap 3/4 inch plywood. I made the sides 4 inches wide to give me plenty of surface for the base of my router to ride on. So I glued 2 pieces to a filler piece on the inside just with regular PVA glue and clamped that together until it was dry. I also attached this fence on the end with some glue and some brad nails so that I can butt this right against the table. And I need a way to clamp this to the table. If I'd made this wider, I could have had enough room to be able to put clamps here and the router to travel, but I didn't have enough plywood. So I actually just got some double-sided sticky tape. They call it carpet tape if you go to the hardware store. And I glued one side to the jig, and now all I have to do, and don't do this on a day when you've just cut your fingernails or you'll never get the backing off, is I just scrape away and peel the backside off of the tape and go sparingly with the tape. I've learned the hard way that if you put too much tape on, this stuff is super sticky and you'll never get the jig off of whatever you're sticking it to. So now I can just stick this directly to the table, and I want to center up this slot with where the slots will be for the miter gauge, so I just kind of eyeball this part. It helps if you tip it on edge so that it won't stick before you want it to, and then I push the fence up against the table and just sort of wiggle back and forth until I get it right where I want it. Like that. And then I'll just put a little bit of weight on it and push it down. And we're ready to start routing. All right, so I lied. I've got one more thing I have to do before I start routing, and that's adjust the plunge depth on the router. So first thing I do is I put the router on the jig, and then I plunge the router as far as it will go. So now the bit is touching the top of the table. So now I have these setup bars. This is a brass setup bar. It's exactly 3/8 of an inch thick, which is how deep I want to go into the table. So this is called a turret, and this is called a depth stop. So I put the guide bar on the turret, and then I push the depth stop down until it's making full contact. And then I tighten this knob on the depth stop. I pull out the setup bar, and now I can start routing, and I know that I'll go exactly 3/8 of an inch deep.